Um, I think we are likely to have met when we were when we used to be three groups. But because Mr. Mwaniki has taught me to introduce yourself to the subjects you teach, in 1974, I taught in Wendado High School, and I taught English and mathematics. I know that because I just got a note from one of my students, my Form 2 student, telling me to attend his retirement party as an elder in a PCA church. At what age do they retire? 65. Those are you. My students are over 65. And then there's another one who rang me 4 weeks ago. And so we are still in touch with my students of 1974. The unfortunate thing is that I didn't teach again. So I have gone to... Were you hearing me without the mic? At the back, put up your hand if I'm clear. You can't hear me? You can hear me? Okay. So don't worry when it disappears. God gave me a loudspeaker on the throat. So I think we can communicate. So I wanted to mention that at least I'm aware I did many jobs before they called me an old man. I'm 70 this year. So I did many jobs. After I retired, I registered a consultancy firm. So these days, I teach more, I find it more interesting to teach my way. Because the trouble with the teaching your way is you must mark. I run seminars, and all our assignments are done in the seminar. After that, I don't mark. So my wife is a lecturer in the university, and I see her marking, and she keeps telling me my type of teaching is not useful because I can't tell whether people learn. She says the most important exercise for a teacher is marking. Is he right? Yes. Is he right? Yes. When she says that's the only way you can know whether you communicate. But I find marking very tough. So I removed my kofia for you that you are able to mark. But our subject today is about not just being a teacher, but being an impactful teacher. Not just being a principal, but being an impactful principal. In other words, you are a principal who is causing ripples to happen. And I do know that there are indicators of somebody who is impactful. But I want to start by talking about people who cannot have positive impact. People who cannot have positive impact. Number one, there are people who are managers rather than leaders. There is a big difference between a manager and a leader. We'll have the subject. Maybe one of these days I'll come back and we can discuss that. Subject on itself. Being a manager and being a leader. Both of them occupy the top of an organization. But the manager has subordinates. The leader has followers. And that's where the difference starts from. If you're a manager, people below you are called subordinates. If you're a leader, people below you are called followers. And a subordinate, and I was a manager for many years, my subordinates fail to do what I tell them at their own risk. There will be consequences. When unfortunately, instead of followers, instead of subordinates, you have followers. Power is not with the leader. Power is with the follower. Because the word follower means somebody who chooses to come behind you. One of the leadership gurus says, if you call yourself a leader and look behind and you can't find anybody behind you, please be aware you are just taking a walk. You are not leading. Because a true follower must have people following. And I want to tell you right at the introduction, the people who make impact are leaders, not managers. You know, when you're a manager, people do what they need to do, but they do not necessarily admire you. You can only follow somebody you admire. And the risk is, whoever you follow, whoever you admire will impact you. Upende? That's why I tell young people, who is your celeb? A celeb means somebody you admire. Once you are a celeb, you soon become like him. Because you find it very difficult to criticize your celeb. Let me give you an example so that you understand this is not a small matter. You know, Mandela is an icon as a leader. And the admirers of the late Mandela are every corner of the world. Listen to any talk, you are likely to hear Mandela quoted. We don't have the time. It's an important time to study how he became so influential globally. But let me tell you something. You know, all we know about Mandela and talk about are the many good things he did. But you know, according to me, I don't have to agree with me, the way he treated the wife was certainly not on. The wife waited for him for 28, almost 30 years. And by that time, the apartheid government had ruled. If you ever took a picture of Mandela and broadcasted it, you would yourself be jailed. So nobody knew how he looked like, nobody knew anything. But the wife had to be allowed to go to Robben Island. She is the one who came to tell the world how the husband was. So his name for 28 years, the white wanted forgotten, but the wife kept him out there until finally he came out. And most of the country wanted to become president. Isn't that a good wife to have? I hope you have such a wife. Now, or such a husband. Now, it's important to understand, after all that, when he was now back and they are together, stories about how she behaved during when he was away started flying around. What did Mandela do? He dumped her. After being waited on for 28, do you hear that being talked about much? What is even worse is that he ended up in a Kabul stay when he was in his 70s. Now, small people in 20s, we forgive them. But if you are 75, surely, how would you know, he took Gracia and they started to get together before the wedding. You can go and Google it up. And he is setting an example because he is so influential. Now, so even if what he is doing is not good, we don't talk about it. Because in fact, if you say that, people defend, it must be Mrs. Mandela was terrible. Now, surely, there's something not Mrs. Mandela. You're talking about Mandela. My friend, when you become a person of influence, people can't help but follow you. In fact, when you do wrong, they become your lawyers, your defense lawyers. Because they have decided, my principal can never do anything wrong. There's nothing wrong with my principal, even when he was caught red-handed last week. Now, it's important to understand, to get that level of influence means to become impactful. So you are subject, I will say many things, but this is the beginning of what it is. You cannot be impactful unless you're influential. Are we together? So the thing you look for as a director, like Lucy, as a principal, as a husband, whatever your relationship role, if you want to be impactful, you must be somebody who can be admired. You must be somebody who has influence. So you need to do everything at stake. In fact, one of my books is called A Leader's Source of Influence. And the other one is called The Character of an Influential Leader. And in the book, I try to study many leaders just to discover what is it that makes somebody influential. And today, if you really are interested in making impact, you must ask yourself, are you influential? Now, once you answer the question about that and you discover you are not influential, the next thing you must ask yourself very clearly is, what can I do to become influential? Let me tell you the key to people who are influential. The number one, they are admired. So you must live a life which people admire. Number two, they must be trusted. Nobody can follow somebody they don't trust, because they don't know what you intend to do later. That's why, as a principal, if you normally tell white lies, No, most people cannot tell a black one. Now, if you normally tell white lies, please understand that white lie will soon be known to be a lie. And the moment people know you tell white lies, they don't know what other lies you can tell. You lose your influence. You will still remain a manager. And he will always respect you, talk nicely about you, but he has already decided you cannot influence them. And that will be something that you need to deal with, and is very, very important. We want to answer the question, what is impact? Then the second question, if I have the time, I want to answer is, how can I be impactful myself? And then number 4, I would like to look at what are signs or evidence that I'm actually having positive impact. And finally, what are signs that I need to improve? And I think that will be very, very important if we are able to cover it. You know, to have impact, really we are also talking at the same time about influence, like I've said in my introduction. The difference between influence and impact, even if they overlap at times, can be described like, if you can influence, you can impact. To influence someone is to make them take on board your ideas, suggestions, and directions. So if you're the type of person who will do something, I'll do it because you say it. Ever heard of a child who was told by mother to sit down? After some time he stood down. Then he was told, I'll beat you up. Sit down. The boy is saying, I'm sitting down, but my heart is standing up. Now, you need to understand there are many of your staff who are standing up, but because they fear what you can do, they look sitting down. You have no influence on them. The way to know you have influence is that when you tell them to jump, you don't have to write a thesis. Tell them jump, all they ask is
how high.
They believe the principal cannot tell me to stand for nothing. If you hear him say something, he never waited for it. There must be something good. Sir, how high do you want me to jump? But then you hear them ask me to write a thesis on why they should jump. Please know you have no influence. You are simply a manager. And it will be very, very important that you ask yourself what that really means. So if you want to influence somebody of necessity, it means you would like him to accept your ideas and start accepting them as they are. When I was working for Shell, they took me to South Africa to learn how adults learn rather than children. And I was very happy for that training because when I became a consultant, I spent a lot of my time training adults. And I was told adults are not empty plates for you to fill. They already have something on. So it's always important to give them a chance to talk. So I want to give you a chance to talk. Please describe somebody who impacted you. Somebody who impacted you. Number 2, tell us in which way are you today similar to that impact. Number 3, what in him made you admire him to the extent that you now behave like him? Are the 3 questions clear? Who is it that has impacted you? In which way? What are you doing today, or you are today, that they came out of that impact? They now describe the guy. Go back and think, what in him made him so impactful? Because in the process, we are all going to learn what we can do to become impactful. Because I can see many of you are not young, so you have been like that for quite a while. It means, and you have a choice. You don't have to become like whoever. And you know, we can be talking about your primary school teacher, we can be talking about your uncle, we can be talking about your mother. It doesn't have to be somebody in teaching profession. Anywhere, we will still be able to learn. So I'm looking at each line giving a chance. So in this first row, who wants to say something on behalf of the row? It's good to allow democracy. Now when democracy fails, we get directed democracy. Before I come to the directed democracy, who wants to say something? All of us have somebody we admire and he has had an impact on us. So it's not just giving us one example. The first row, thank you very much.
among from the Bureau Day Secondary School. The first question, I'm going to be reminded. The first question is, my mathematics teacher, she took us from Form 3. I was not the best in maths. I was doing very well in maths. When she came, I thought I really cannot beat a man. So being a man, so I expect already I can't get 0. Now it would be very bad if we are given an exam by a teacher and then I get a 0. Then it happened that I got 77%, I was the best. And then students one day, they asked me a question, I told her to wait, I will show them what the teacher did. Now they never waited for the teacher to leave, they asked the teacher. Then the teacher answered immediately. I feared her. From that moment, I became the best student and I started getting A's in mathematics. I'm a mathematics teacher, and I have one of my students, I have a WhatsApp group from where I was teaching in Gezongo, and we communicated with the students. One got a D, but she did some clinics, and she opened a hospital with the great others. I have answered some.
Now, just a moment. What in her character, her being, made her so impactful? That today you are a mathematics teacher like her.
She could do a lot of work.
Or is it simply because she was a woman?
No.
Or simply because she was clever?
It's because she was working when I do a mathematics paper. She has no marking scheme. I will give her, she would mark it all for me, and then I should ask. She was very hardworking. How can we say?
Okay, hardworking teacher.
Yes.
Therefore became a woman of influence.
Yes.
Thank you. That's the lesson we have learned out of her. That if you really want to be as influential as the principal's teacher, you must yourself be hard working. That's what really made her. Now, the second row. Anybody? The whole row just okay, stand up together. Who is it? Or you want me to appoint you? It's one. Okay. Oh, you are coming. Okay.
I am Helen Nyaga Mrs. The person who requested me is my own mother. My mother was offered at a very young stage when she was very young. And when we were growing up, we had very many problems. Because my father used to be sickly. There's one thing my mother used to do. She never went to school herself. And so she didn't even understand English. But our home was very close to the school. And my mother knew all the school rules in our primary school. She also knew the timetable somehow. And one of the rules is was that you should not communicate in mother tongue. In the school, you communicate in English. And my mother did not know English. But when you came home, because the rule in school was you must communicate in English, she also insisted at home you communicate in English. And so our question was, now this lady doesn't know even a word in English. But for her, anything she would not understand was the English. And that is how today I ended up learning the language. I teach English. And I got a lot of interest in that English. And then she was so hardworking. She believed that the position you were in that time was not permanent. She would put it in mother tongue that Shinda Uisha, but there's a word she used to use, I don't know the English translation. Alikuwa nasema enaneziraga osogunimutindirana. So you can finish, you can end problems, but character will stay with you. So she taught us to make sure that you have good character, because if you have good character, you can work out the problems can end. And up to today, I still admire my mother, and I really try to do the things the way my mother did them. I even encourage students the same way, that even yesterday, if me standing before you, she will tell us, because today you are putting on clothes that are patches. our uniform used to have very many colors. Those of you who grew those days, I don't know whether they are tailors who will pick pieces from different colors and put on your clothes. So you don't know which color is your dress. So you tell us today you are putting on these patches, but one day you can line up a number of clothes in your wardrobe depending on what you are doing today. So really, that's a woman I celebrate. And I'm sure I am much of what she was those days. Thank you.
So you summarize that your mother was a motivator.
A motivator, a great
She
motivator.
lived her life in other people.
Yes.
She made herself look like a student, behave like a student, and produce who you are today.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Can we clap for that mother? Wow, that's fantastic. Are you drawing the lesson on how to be impactful? Is to love other people enough to forget yourself and start becoming what they should, and in the process, they do what you tell them to do. I hope I'm summarizing it correct. Now, somebody else, we want to 3 people, so we are looking for that person. And each story is giving us a lesson about how to be people of impact. Wait. Oh, thank you. Sorry, I was on the busy.
Thank you. I was invited by my high school teacher, principal, that is Madam Chi Kivuti, and invited me because of her character. She was very practical in her needs. She was also loving, kind, she understood us. And because of this, as we were choosing our careers, I decided to choose teaching, just to be a principal like her. And I trust today I'm in her shoes and impacting on her.
So what to the exact, she was hardworking,
Yes.
which you admired.
Yes.
She loved you,
Yes.
which you are very happy to be loved.
Yes.
And the third thing,
She was kind.
she was kind to you.
She was understanding.
Oh, when you did something wrong, she thought to understand why you are doing it wrong.
Yes. She could correct us.
Okay, loving.
Loving. Yes.
And because of that, you admired her.
Yes.
And it meant you wanted to be like her.
Yes.
And today you are like her.
Yes.
Wow, let's clap for that. That's Nadine. Okay, one last person. Yeah, I think those are, okay, there was a man, a lady and a lady. We need a man now. So that the finish is 50-50. Just stand up and come. Oh, okay. Okay, you are coming. Were you coming? Or you are coming from outside? You are not coming.
I was also impacted by my principal when I was a young boy in high school. So Peace was arrested. He was very hardworking. He wake up so early at night. He made me start waking up very early at night. He would come for us in the dormitories very early at 3 and ask us why we were sleeping at that hour when every hardworking person is up. It shook my heart to start working hard. And there was a phrase he usually said every time he addressed us in the assembly, and I have never forgotten. He was a student. He used to tell us, boys, I wish that this does not happen to you at any one time in your life. That you say, Darak. In token, that means, I wish I knew. I have never forgotten those words. He would follow by saying, this sun that you wish to bask in today may not be there for you there for today, because you may not pass tomorrow. I say the same words today to my students, because it impacted me to realize how much I should make hay while the sun was shining. And today, I can.
Thank you very much. You have been a principal like me. Okay, let's clap for that principal. I did the 3 lessons. He was not required by the county director to wake up that early. But he loved the students enough to wake up when he should be warming his blanket. I hope I'm repeating the correction. And you wonder, what wakes up this guy like this? He must really be interested in our welfare. Number 2, he actually gave reasons behind why you need to do what you are doing. It's not an order. He's giving you a reason for why you should not fast, for why you should not be asleep at that time. And the why is what entered into my friend to the extent that up to today, he actually practices the same. I think we have gotten 4 different lessons. Am I right? So if you're having no influence, can you pick one of them, or all of them, and see how that would help? I want to start by saying, in summarizing all we have heard, is that each one of the people mentioned, the key deliverable was self-management, self-leadership. Maybe at another time we'll spend a lot of time on that. Because a lot of us want to lead others before we lead ourselves. My friend, it soon shows up that you are not leading yourself. How you feel about yourself affects how you think about yourself. So if you have not had the time to meditate over your life, you may actually be having wrong ideas about yourself. And what happens, you have a lot of insecurities. An insecure leader is a tyrant. The moment you come to the staff room and people are talking, looking your direction, you assume they are talking about you. And you start being rough. You know they are not talking about you. They just think, oh, our principal is going mad. Now, are they likely to admire you? Are they likely to follow you? And it has not come from them. It has come from you. How you feel about yourself affects how you think about yourself. If you are somebody who is self-confident, not suffering from insecurity, if they are talking about you, say, I must be very important. For them to choose all subjects and they discuss me, you will continue. In fact, continue even if I'm here. But people who are insecure are so afraid about people talking about them. And they are principals who are dictators, tyrants. And it has nothing to do with the staff. It has something to do with them. So if you really want to be a person of influence, start on working on yourself. You know, how you think about yourself affects how you feel about yourself. So you are the kind of a person, because you feel you have not measured up. You think even others are thinking you have not measured up. And because you think they don't measure up, you think they are not respecting you. So you are always fighting with others, but it begins with fighting on yourself. What I'm suggesting is that the most important factor to consider when assessing your current impact, or when you plan to actually impact others, is how effectively you are leading yourself. On number 2, which the county director told us about, how able you are about controlling the inner self. That's what he talked about the EQ, emotional intelligence. The ability to understand your emotions to the extent you can manage them. That means a student can very easily, very easily, tell you, you dog, and you realize you are very angry. But you realize you are likely to say words you regret later. So you control yourself despite the fact that you have been rude. And it is in some room there are many people. You control yourself, smile, make it look like nothing happened. What happens? People say, that person is a wise person. But that teacher was a bad teacher. How could he be so rude to the principal? Now, once your emotions have gone down, you can call him for a cup of tea in your office. And you want to find out why it ended up where it ended up. But now the two of you, so it will be within a controlled environment. But people who don't have control of the inner self, they burst. And when they ask, why did you burst like that? What could I have done? He provoked me. You know, how you react is your responsibility. How others act is your responsibility. Nobody forces you to be angry. It's a choice to be angry. Nobody has the capacity to make you angry. So whenever you are angry, don't blame another person. Say, I accepted to be angry. My friend, remember our topic is about influence. How to become a person of influence. You have to find a way of managing yourself. That means you say what you feel like saying because you know it is good to say and to have the right impact. You know, impact is actually equal to legacy. Because what will happen is that what you do, for example, if you help somebody to pass their exams, that's what you are paid for. What we are describing now is what will be remembered even when you are dead. You know that to get a teacher is long dead, am I right? But now, dead completely, he is still being remembered. And now the whole of 2 sub-counties of Mary have heard about him. Are we together?
Yes.
Why? Because what he left is a legacy. And my friend, legacy, you don't get legacy when you aim at it. In fact, most people who aim at legacy never get it. It is people who live their lives for the good of others that end up giving legacy. That Mwalimu did not say, I want to be remembered in Mary. No. He simply was a good man. And you need to understand that legacy is what you get when you're a man of influence. You have a strong effect on someone or something. Maybe it's anonymous, we could call it influence, because it has an impact on another person, an impression on another person, a hate on another person. In fact, we could call it a touch or a change, or you are able to alter or modify or transform somebody else's behavior, or even shape his future. That's what you're talking about when you talk about legacy. The impression you leave on the life of on this life and others in your is exactly your legacy. You have the ability to become responsible for your actions and be intentional about your path when you are a person who leave a legacy. You can be intentional about your influence, and that way you have impact. And you know, if you don't concentrate on am I influencing, if you just become a good man, you will soon discover that you are a person of impact. Sociologists tell us the most introverted of people has the capacity to influence 10,000 others in his lifetime. Let me repeat this quote by Elmo. Elmo says, sociologists tell us that the most introverted of people has the capacity to influence 10,000 others in the average lifetime. That means you're not talking about becoming talkative. You can be somebody quiet and reserved, and yet you're influencing. Am I right? Some of the people who influence you hardly talk. But the way they carry themselves, you admire. And I told you the key word to influence is admire. The way they carry themselves, you're able to trust them. And I told you the second key to influence is trust. And soon enough, you become someone you can follow. Let me give an example which I got in the internet. There have been a lot of people who have made an impact in my life, the person says, including my parents. But one person who has influenced my values, beliefs, and forced to live in work as a person is my teacher. He is not only my teacher, but also like my father, because I do well in my job and daily life on his instruction. I have learned valuable lessons from my teacher. In particular, he is hardworking and always learns something. When I had graduated, I did not know what to do. I went to my teacher training course. At that time, I did not understand the lecture. So the teacher noticed me. He patiently explained the lessons and taught them not only during the training, but also outside. As a result, after I successfully completed the exam with good marks, my teacher gave me a chance for my first job. But unfortunately, I cannot do job well and had poor relationship with the people. I quit my job because I was depressed. At that time, the teacher helped me to find a new job, and I was living under the guidance of my teacher. Today, I'm the manager of a large company, and my teacher passed away early. Isn't that a wonderful story? And I think that's a very, very important thing. You know, if you are looking at evidence of impact, somebody defines impact. The evidence of impact is the available body of facts or information that can be used to judge to what extent or not impact has occurred. And we can look at people, not daily, but over time, and see whether the way they came, I heard Madam Lucy calling it entry condition, and the way they exit, compare the two, and see as a principle, has there been a change? That is now impact. Are we together? Unfortunately, many of us just look at, did they get a name? But have you ever heard that when a thief passes exams, he becomes a clever thief? Am I communicating? When a thief becomes rich, he only steals more. Because now he cannot steal a shilling once he is rich. But he still steals. So a poor thief becomes a rich thief who steals more. You need to understand that academic performance is important and critical, but you need more than that. So have the vision of the citizen that you want to produce. And the citizen is not just something you got a name. Then work at it and watch how it's run. I want you to look at the book of Luke, chapter 2, verse 52. Luke chapter 2, verse 52. It's a summary of the early life of Jesus Christ. It says, and Jesus grew in wisdom, and stature, and in favor with God and with man. There are 4 areas that for one student has to be good at. And his responsibility as a principal to ensure all those 4 areas that Jesus is being described can be measured. You must find a way of measuring all of them. The first one is intellectual development. He grew in wisdom. So every year he was getting better and better. At the age of 12, he's arguing with professors in Jerusalem. And they are marveling how at age 12 he can argue like he grew in wisdom. He grew intellectually. And his responsibility as a principal to ensure that from one you got is intellectually better by the time he leaves. And you don't just measure it with exams only. His ability to argue must be seen to be better. His ability to understand, his ability to question, all those are intellectual marks. And it will be important to understand, if you talk about having impact, it will have to be impact in every area, including wisdom. The second one is, he grew in stature. That is physical development. And you need to ask yourself, are you bringing up that boy or that girl to become physically better? That means you are teaching them how to look after their bodies. That's why the physical exercise, we used to call it PE. Is that you call it the same? Yeah. You get them to where they are not forced to go for PE. They actually go because they know they need it. Because a body without exercise will soon be in hospital. Am I right? And that is including even a 7-year-old like me. I have to find something to do. There is no body who is alive who can be okay health-wise unless they exercise. But exercise is not the only thing. You must teach them the dangers of eating rotten food. Am I right? Don't tell them, don't bring bad food. Tell them why it is bad food. Because you are helping the guy to develop. Such that even after he leaves school, he will not be, is it called junk food? But you order him. No junk food. That you're a manager, not a leader. A leader wants to influence him. So the way as a principal you eat, he also see you are setting an example. The way you exercise, he will see you are setting an example. So on this area of stature, it includes what you eat, it includes exercise, it all includes rest. I was very surprised one day, and I thought it was like I've had for the last number of years when I've been retired. I give a lot of talks. And I was called, I think it's Pagani Girls, where the headmistress called me to talk to students from force because they were starting on the holidays in August and were refusing to go for break. So I was called that week to talk to them why they should go. Any parents will be happy with those girls, isn't it? The other schools, you have to persuade students to read. At Pagani, they are refusing to go home so that they, Madam, the exam is in the beginning before October. No, we can't afford a holiday. It was my responsibility to tell them the way to ensure you fail your exams is to not to go for break. There is something in economics we call point E, where diminishing returns begin. Those who have done economics. And that means when you read that point, you read the whole page, at the bottom of the page you ask, what did I read? You can't remember. So you have to read the page a second time. If you go for 1 week of not touching the book at all, you come back at the point when you have increasing returns. Now the children must be taught that. But there are some principals who think it is evil to rest. So if you find people resting, what's wrong with you? Now, if you are such a principal, you are destroying your children because they will go to working life and their life will be short. Because the body will simply give up. Ever heard of burnout? Yes. Did you see a guy in one of the top consultants in Pricewaterhouse jump out of the window? It was their standard. Did you read the story? That guy did not die out of laziness. It's because he was very hard working. But had a bad principal who told him people who take rests are lazy. So basically, this principle did not help the boy to grow in stature. And by the way, that issue of burnout now is a huge problem among professionals. People who don't know when to say no. For example, they don't know that according to studies, if you are not there for 6 hours, please don't go to class. Because 6 hours in 24, 6 hours out of 24 is the minimum a human being should be in bed. Minimum. Not the required time, but then, in fact, they tell you, I was in charge of logistics, and used to tell our tanker drivers, if you never got a chance to sleep 6 hours, don't go to drive. Why? You become a killer. Many of the big accidents you see on the road, they are caused by sleep. There's something called micro sleeps. When you have not slept enough, you will be on a place, and after some time, you ask, when did I pass? Most of you are drivers, am I right?
Yes.
You know what I'm talking about. Yes. That means if you had caused an accident before car, people will not understand. Because some of the accidents are in the middle of a level road. What happened? You have no idea. The guy was
asleep.
That's the way to commit suicide. Because people never learned that sleep is not negotiable. God created us needing rest. In fact, He did exactly that. He said it must be dark to discourage us working. Unfortunately, we have discovered electricity. So we work even at night. You must teach your students to understand that exercise is important, rest is exercise. The body is the one that contains where they live, and if the body can't cooperate, their intellect is useless to anybody. Thirdly, Jesus grew in favor with God. What does that mean? Spiritual development. My friend, you can't be a principal producing atheists. If you are producing atheists, you are making negative impact. Even if you are not a Christian yourself, pretend in school. Am I communicating? The best would be to be, because they might discover They might discover what you do on Saturdays. But you know, anybody who discourages a boy from being a Christian has totally destroyed. I went through Alliance, and I don't want to give more information because I've just heard my classmate did not come from very far from here. And in Form 4, he got, we used to require 6 subjects. You remember those of you who are older? I think Mr. Moneke is in that group. We required only, you could do 9 subjects, but only 6 were counted. The best, 6. So he did 8 subjects, but all the 8, he got a 1. So when you ask him, give me your best 6, he says, which ones? Because all of them were. In fact, when he got to A-level, he got a chance when we used to go to A-level around March, after the results are out. By the end of the year, he got an exchange program where some boys would come from Britain, and the equal number of boys would go to Britain. An exchange program. When he was there, remember he had not finished a year. Their exams are in June. He was asked, do you want to sit for A-level? The guy said yes. Do you know he got 3 principles? Now, the only question is here, he was required to come back to Alliance. So he was in Alliance, already admitted to the university. Okay, to the point? And he was asked, do you want to do the Kenya A-levels? He didn't require. He said yes. He got 3 years. Many years later, I was asking, where is so and so? So I said, oh, he came back with a degree because he went to Britain, back to Britain for university. But he started drinking. By the time we were trying to check with my classmate of Alliance, or my time, about 50 years ago when we left Alliance, I did my Form 4 1971. Now, we everybody say, I can't remember. But the last time he was hard, he was about to be fired. Because once the bottle hits you, you can't be a principal. You agree with me? Yes. And there's a time you begin drinking when you want, you end up drinking when you must. Am I right? At that point, it doesn't matter how intellectual you are. That's why anybody growing properly, if you are going to make an impact that lasts, that can become a legacy, you must help the person you are impacting to have to be in favor with God. And by the way, let me now say this not for your students, but for you. See, I can start orientating you for retirement. Because I know you can't be a teacher unless you are younger than me. Now, the point is, retirement is terrible for drunkards. Terrible. For 3 reasons. Number 1, your body can't take a lot of bottles. You are easily sick. Number 2, you have nobody to drink with. Because soon enough, a lot of your mates are dead. Now. Number 3, your children find you an embarrassment. Your wife leaves you early. Now, you need to understand, if you want to damage your retirement, continue drinking. It's your choice. You are not, isn't it? It's my dress, my choice. Yeah, my retirement, my choice. I do not know, I have not quite studied to understand why alcohol is so destructive. I have no idea. But I have seen one great man after another totally destroyed simply by starting. Nobody drinks to be drunk. They only take one for the road. Then they remember one for the wife. Now you need to understand. You need to understand in no time. The guy who was taking one for the road totally destroyed. Why? We were discussing that with somebody last week. And he said that in your blood system, there is something about your threshold of alcohol. And your threshold is not my threshold. So me, I can drink for 10 years, drunk every night, and I'm still not an alcoholic. Somebody else tried, and within 1 year, he's an alcoholic. So do not start thinking the alcoholics are bad people. It's nothing to do with them. It's something to do with their makeup. And since you can't test it fast, there's no laboratory to test you how many bottles are equal to becoming an alcoholic. The best thing is not to take even if you are wise. Of course, if you are fool, it's okay. But you need to understand you need to understand that nobody takes soda and ends up at the same place. Nobody takes tea and ends up at the same place. Am I right? But we are still talking about when you have favor with God, you are at peace with yourself and peace with others. And it's a very, very important thing to you. Finally, the baby Jesus grew in favor with man. That is social development. Do not claim that you have made an impact on your students if they don't get interpersonal skills, the ability to work with one another. That's what we are calling impact. Of course, in our time in the 1960s, almost 90% of the headmasters were white because we had just gotten independence. And Kenya Science and Kenyatta University College had just started. So there are not many African teachers. But I still remember my Mzungu headmaster. He insisted, by the time you finish, even around from six or so people going to university, you must be somebody who can live on your own. So one weekend per year was called Spiritual Emphasis Weekend. I think later it became called Challenge Weekend. Am I right? And it was compulsory. Every student, from Friday to Sunday, everything was taught. And a team of outsiders came and they were available for us to ask questions throughout Saturday and Sunday. So that every year you got a chance in this issue of favor with God. Then the next weekend was called Marriage Weekend. Remember, we are just small boys. But he said you can't finish from 4 because before you know what is marriage. You might marry, and of course many people actually married after 4. I have many people whose children were born in 1972, soon after we left from 4, because they didn't go for A-level. Now, Marriage Weekend was only for anybody above from 3. From Friday to Sunday, you are just discussing how to handle your boys' school, how to handle women, and how straight women can be. Now, all of that you are taught before you ever meet one. Am I going to get it?
Very good.
Now, how can you say you're a preschool and you are delivering boys outside there who are animals? They beat their wives like their goats. And they went through your hands? Are you really having a proper impact?
No.
Okay, if you beat you, it will be difficult to tell them not to be there. But I'm talking about positive impact. According to the Bible, for Jesus to be saved, to be mature, he had to grow in favor with God first, and favor with social development. So, number 1, intellectual development. Number 2, physical development. Number 3, spiritual development. And finally, social development. That's what you're talking about. So you need to form a picture of a citizen who will be like the way you want. Then you check what you do in Form 1, Form 2, Form 3, Form 4 that prepares the person such that when they don't go to college and they start their own business, there will be people that are actually balanced and could go on. You know, if you are going to be impactful, number 1, you must encourage your mentee or protege to be flexible despite being firm. Mr. Monek called it being adaptive quotient. What did he call it? AQ. You must help that child to become flexible. Apple, now they have grown up to eating sausages, then the father dies. And the mother had no career. They now live alone sausages. They have difficulty getting porridge for breakfast. Many people just fail in school because they are not eating sausages. If they are properly prepared, they can adapt to anything and everything. That is their ability as a person who will make an impact to help people to adapt to the situation that's changing. To gain respect and be trusted, you personally must learn how to be adaptable yourself and set an example for others to be adaptable. And yet, at the same time, to be somebody firm. To be adaptable does not mean you follow whoever. It means you see the circumstance, see what is best to do, and you choose to do it. Number 2, you must be somebody who is open And I think somebody already talked about that. To be a good leader, impactful leader, you need people to feel like you are approachable and honest and actually have time for their needs. You cannot make an impact when you have no time for people. And you know, we are all principals, but you know there are principals where you go to his office and you think he has no work. Because the moment you are there, there's nothing else. You go to other principals and he's talking and he's working, and you go quiet. You say, no, keep talking, I'm listening. You are a liar. If you are human, you cannot concentrate on what you are writing and you are sending it to the director and be listening at the same time. I read a study the other day saying, what you call multitasking is a joke. Your mind cannot concentrate on two things at the same time. So what you do is, a bit of this, then a bit of this. You are watching the TV and writing, a bit of it on TV. Sometimes you ask, did you hear what the deputy president said in the debate? You can't remember. And yet you are watching. You need to understand, if you want to be a person of influence, people, the language of love is time. You cannot be meeting your staff and at the same time, you are talking to the director. Tell the director, sorry, I'm having a staff meeting. May I talk to you after this? You can't have divided attention. And when you hear people, the word I think she used was she felt love. Love means she gave me time. I know your day is short. But if you give somebody an appointment, you must sacrifice something. When you see somebody concentrating on you, it's not because he has no other work, it's that he values you. So whenever you give people time, they feel
valued.
Not just love, but
valued.
So you people become, when I'm in the presence of so and so, I feel like I'm the only one who matters in the whole world. And by the way, you gave them only 10 minutes. But those 10 minutes were power-packed. Then you write somewhere what you have promised. Don't promise, hey, next week I'll be seeing you. And next week, he keeps waiting to be called. And then he said, Malim, you said we are meeting. Where? When did I promise? Now, he gets a message. You are just a talker. You have to write somewhere that what have you promised. Are we together? Don't wait for him to remind you. As busy as you are, when you look at your note, you know, I told Atieno I'm calling her. She said, can you call Atieno to come? Atieno thought you forgot. When she comes back and says, Hiya, Mwalim, you could remember. She feels like she's the only one who matters in the whole
world.
And later in life, she will always be talking about you. Her husband might even want to meet you. And it all came from giving her time. Are we together? Our topic is how to be an impactful priesthood. If you don't have time, then obviously you will still earn your salary, but you will not have impact. The choice is to be. Number 3, stop being overly controlling. Too many leaders feel they need to control everything in their path. Learn how to delegate effectively and allow others to carry out their own job. Micromanagement is the way to lose followers and get subordinates. Where you are the principal, but you are the one in the dormitory, the one in the kitchen, the one in everywhere you are. Yet there are people who have delegated to. When somebody discovers that you are doing his job, he allows you to do it. Am I right? And you keep telling yourself, I'm hopeless. The kind of people the director said that they are useless. It's not that they are useless. You never even give them a chance. Not communicating. And the way to give a chance is to allow people to make mistakes. You know, you feel like if you are doing it yourself, you'll do it well. But I'm thinking you're one person. You can't be everywhere. So allow people to do things and make mistakes. But once they make mistakes, call them. Find out what are deliberate mistakes. If they are deliberate mistakes, Mr. Moneki told us it's called the first level of the circle. What do we call it, the circle? Conscious circle. So do not destroy a person because he failed once. Give him a second
chance.
But don't allow him to reach where number 4. Was it number 4? Yeah. Don't allow him to get there. Because by that time your school is destroyed. But it's important what you are saying. People feel, look, when they have made a mistake, they feel like, hey, I'm finished, I'm going to be transferred. No, I'm getting fired. to arrive and say, young man, exactly what happened. When you identify that it was a mistake any young person can make, you tell them, don't worry, that's a license for learning. I really thank you for being there. But next time you're there, consult first. Are we together? Next time you live there feeling like, what an understanding principle. In fact, from today, he's not a principal, he's my father. Do you remember the article I read? Where you no longer seen as a principal, you are seen as a father, as a leader, as somebody can copy. And it all begins from that not controlling. The moment you are controlling, my friend, you become a manager, not
A leader.
a leader sets the example and people freely follow. But a leader does not abdicate authority. Abdicate means you delegate and forget. That's abdication. Proper delegation means you delegate and check. You delegate and check. But not every moment. Ever heard the story about the Maasai? You know, so you forgive me. But the story I was told a long time ago by my grandfather that some Maasais were called to Kula for a party. In the party, they were given guache and several things which they don't have in Maasai. Then they asked, how do you get this? They were taken to the garden and somebody removed and they saw guache grow underneath. When they went, they said, can you do it? Yes, you can carry it. They were given some of the plantings to go and plant in Maasai. They planted. The following day, they went to uproot. There was no guache. They are liars. Now, my friend, whoever you want to make an impact on, let the guache go down. Are we together? It will take time before the tubers underneath grow. Are we together? So in that patience, you can never have impact. And it will be important that is done. Next, be realistic with your team. You must stretch the people, but be realistic. You need to set achievable and tangible goals. That will be important. And then monitor the progress and understand their own personal contribution to the overall target of the department or the school. But you are talking about being realistic. I've run out of time, but let me mention clearly. There are 3 types of people. And if you really want to make an impact, you have to choose which of them you are. Some people are optimists. If you are an optimist, it means that for you, you never see a problem. Those are optimists. They always see things turning out well. But let me tell you, please stop being an optimist. If you're an optimist, those are the people who commit suicide. Optimists are people who don't prepare themselves for anything to turn out bad. Because for them, everything must turn out right. A boy comes and says, I want to marry you, I love you. You don't see the possibility of him lying. So you follow him. Within no time there is trouble. How can men are good? Surely it is you who did not do due. And that is the legacy of optimists. They never see anything wrong happening. Now, when you are in that category and you're a principal, you give somebody some responsibility and expect it must work. When it doesn't work, you will come on him like a ton of bricks. Am I right? Because you are an optimist. The second category of leaders are called pessimists. Who are pessimists? They never expect anything to work. You can't give these young people work. These young people, millennials, they are useless. Nothing works. Nothing can work. So he ends up carrying all the work himself because he's the only old man. And unless you're over 50, there's nothing you can perform. My friend, pessimists, if you are a pessimist, they never enjoy life. If you are a pessimist and you are a wife, your husband goes to London, comes back with a dress, and starts suspecting he must be a bride. Who are you in London? Because you see, according to you, for a husband to give you a gift, and a kunga, marriage. Now, so the husband doesn't know what to do. Some of the women are not that bad. They never tell you. You only know that the dress has not been worn for 5 years. The communication is, you can't bribe me with a dress. I don't know what you did, but you must have done something wrong. Now, if you are married to a pessimist, please accept my sympathy. Now, it has because there's nothing, you do something bad, you're in trouble. You do something good, you're in trouble. Because they never see anything turning out well. Now, if you are a pessimist of a principle, your school is full of a dull time. Somebody laughs and says, what are you laughing about? Now, because you can't be quiet for nothing loud. Some nights I talk and say, you see everything you see. Don't you see how serious things? Now, if you are that type of a person, you will not make a positive impact. So what should you be? You must be a realist. A realist is a person who looks at things from the optimistic side, puts a comma, then starts looking at them from the pessimistic side, puts a comma, then compares the two and comes to a realistic view of the future. My friend, I have written this in my book called Leadership in David's Style. That's what David was. A realist, not an optimist. And I'm saying, if you truly want to make an impact, you must of necessity be a person who is going to look at things from every angle. Before you delegate, you see the possibility of failure, the possibility of success, then be realistic about it. And I just want to finish with a few quotations on teaching, a few quotations I read. Number one, teaching is the one profession that creates all other professions. True or false? True. Now another quotation by Barbara Kolorowski. If kids came to us from strong, healthy, functioning families, it makes our job easier. Would you agree with that? Unfortunately, many don't. If they do not come to us from strong, healthy, functioning families, it makes our job more important. Are you getting the point? So if kids come to us from strong, healthy, functioning families, it makes our job easier. If they do not come to us from strong, healthy, functioning families, it makes our job more
important.
So you shouldn't be complaining. I was just given people who have no idea what they are doing. It makes your job important because the lower the person is, the greater will be the impact by the time of exit. You agree with me? That's what that person is saying. The next one is Robert Hutchins. He says, education is not to reform students or amuse them or to make them expert technicians. It is to unsettle their minds, widen their horizons, inflame their intellect, teach them to think straight, if possible. So your biggest deliverable is not that somebody can pass exams, but they can ask the right questions. Then an unknown writer says, as a general rule, teachers teach more by what they are than by what they say. Let me repeat. As a general rule, teachers teach more by what they are than what they say. Then Howard Hendricks says, never do anything for a student that he is capable of doing for himself. If you do, you will make him an educational cripple. So, somebody comes healthy in Form 1, he leaves Form 4 as a cripple. A pedagogical paraplegic. Anyway, you are the ones who understand that language. Now, and of course you know that happens. There are schools we used to call schools a spoon feed. Now, I don't know the things are like that. Remember, I told you I did my Form 4 more than 50 years ago. But there are people who are properly prepared and they pass the exams. When they go to university, they can't pass a single exam. Have you heard of those stories? Yes. Because somebody got good students, by the time they left, unless the teacher writes the note for them, they don't know how to write their own. And in the university, does anybody write notes for you? No. Who destroyed them? A wonderful loving teacher is the one who destroyed them. So that's what we really think. You think of not just the grades, although the grades also matter, but think of who are you producing. Impact is producing the right person. You know, Henry Brooks Adams says, teachers effect Teachers affect eternity. No one can tell where their influence stops. Because the way you are, you could easily end up with the person going to hell as a copy. That word of Emerson, the great person in education, says, the man or woman who can make hard things easy is the educator. Your responsibility is to make hard things easy. But some people are so proud. In fact, you go to a mathematics class and they tell you, you know mathematics is hard. Girls, mathematics is hard. And they have been told that in Form 1. Then they feel, say, did I tell you mathematics is hard? The mathematics is not hard. You have a teacher who doesn't understand it. So you still find it hard. The way to show you really understand mathematics is to make it easy. You know, there are people who even give you notes in developing a formula. They tell you the process, isn't it? But some other teachers, they just write formulas on the board. When you don't understand, they say, I understand. Mathematics is hard. The responsibility of the teacher is to make hard things easy. Students don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. So if you want to make an impact, the students want to know that you care about them. And I think that's pretty important. Now my time is up. But there are a few positions I will pass them over to Madam Lucy. And she wants, assuming you have a WhatsApp group, so you can place my notes there. But let me say 4 things before I finish. In summary. Number 1, within no time you retire like me. What will matter is not the money you got during your working life. It's how many people you impacted. And we have now explained impacting is not getting mass. It's becoming wholesome people who can carry their way out there in life. Number 2, which is very important. Like I said at the beginning, you will never be an impactful person if you're not a wholesome person. Ability to control your inner self. And so you need to start working on yourself. You can want to impact others. Are you in control or do you act like a trigger? Somebody says, you look old. Who knows you're old? But you obviously you are. But you are annoyed that I'm sitting apart. That you are actually old. Now, if you are getting annoyed by such things, please know you need counseling. Are we together? Yeah, you have a problem. Always don't start by thinking someone provoked you. Ask yourself, why are you provocable? The problem is not that he said something provoking, but you are provocable. And that we have said, once you know how to control that, which we are calling EQ, emotional intelligence, it will be important. And finally, it will be important to understand that life is not a straight line. And so, it will be important to help yourself have the ability to enjoy the changing circumstances. They say the only constant in life is change. So, you must yourself be somebody adaptable. But more important, pass that trait to your students to learn how to be adaptable. Thank you very much, and God bless.